Welcome, NoDQ Galaxy, back to a brand new edition of the NoDQ review, number 199. That's right, 199, one away from episode 200, which will be 2 weeks from tonight, where you, the NoDQ Galaxy, will be the moderator with the topics for the entire show via Super Chat. Have no fear. If you try to troll me and you come with dead silence, I will still have backup topics ready to discuss. But this week's elite panel, of course, consists of Aaron Rift, Walter Cruz, and Son is back in the house. I want to give a shout out to Colin, as I always do. Robbie was supposed to be on tonight. He had something he had to take care of. So the whole NoDQ review team, shout out to you if you're not here. But what's up, gentlemen? Son, welcome back, man. It's always fun having you on the show because of this. Go.
Oh, yes. Well, per my usual introduction, hey everybody, Son Tosraku here, back with NoDQ. It is time for WWE and the words fun to combine. That's a topic, a mix, a combination that I think we haven't had for quite some time. Let's get into today's discussion with you gentlemen. Happy to be here.
All right, and we'll come back to you. You know how this works. All right, Walter Cruz, what's up?
I'm good. Man, I gotta follow that. It's good to be on a video with Son. I've been looking forward to this. I've been asking for us to be in the same video, but as a content creator, he's pretty busy, so I'm excited for this one. I'm just ready to go.
All right.
Last minute replacement. I wasn't expecting it, but hey.
Now, you would have been on as the 5th, but I was trying to keep it 4 tonight because I will be spending the next 10 days in Myrtle Beach, and so I got a big day of travel tomorrow. Aaron Rift, what's up?
Hey everyone, happy to be on tonight. Glad to have Son back with us once again. Not going to try and even do something in the realm of what that introduction was, but Son, it's a pleasure as always to have you on. Walter, it's always a pleasure to have you on. I know when you're on, we're going to have plenty of talking about the topics. There's not going to be any one-word answers when Walter Cruz, Virtue number 2, is joining us. I like that gold dust autographed photo. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we're coming off SummerSlam. We're coming off Ric Flair's last match. There's a lot to talk about. And, 200 is coming up in just 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks to build it up because it's such an epic no-DQ review. We need that extra time to hype it up. And, again, like Virtue said, you guys can super chat your questions, but feel free to super chat tonight, and we'll talk about some of your ideas, and maybe we'll even go into overtime tonight. I know Virtue's trying to get us right in an hour, but you guys could change that. So let's go ahead and get started.
Let's start with talking about the fallout of SummerSlam. So obviously that was last Saturday night, and I got a couple things I want to address first before we go around the room and get people's opinions. Yes, they were in a stadium. Yes, they only did 40-some thousand, and they did not sell that stadium out. So that could beg the question, should that be an arena? I think everything WWE outside of WrestleMania or going over to England or Wales like they're going to do should be in an arena. You should save stadiums for WrestleMania. Saudi Arabia, I'm not even counting that. But the fact that they have done 40 to 50,000, and I think for WrestleMania, a little bit more than that each night. 2 nights of WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, and SummerSlam, they're having a pretty damn good year selling tickets, even if they're not selling out the buildings. SummerSlam was a spectacle, gentlemen. I mean, we saw Logan Paul surprise everybody with his match with The Miz. Pat McAfee delivered just like we expected. Those 2 guys aren't like wrestlers, are they? Of course, the main event, everyone was bored with Brock and Roman. And what happened? They put the tractor in the match, and they did something special. You had the women. Ronda Rousey did not beat Liv, and she turned heel. Gentlemen, what was wrong with the SummerSlam? I don't think really anything. Son, what do you think here? I think this was the best SummerSlam in a very long time, and all wrestling fans and sports entertainment fans should be happy. What do you think?
I agree. I won't get into the full details. I have a review on my channel, so if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a comment below.
Give them a tease.
But
Yep.
that
Give them a
mostly
tease.
though is the two matches, the first and the last is mostly what stands out. Bianca and Becky killed it again, but it is time to get some fresh new blood in this women's division. And you know what? The game delivered. Love it. I was joking around. I said Dakota, Kai, Io. Once Triple H is in charge, now they were quick to sign those contracts, and I don't blame them one bit. That was tremendous. Yeah, Logan Paul. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not familiar with Logan Paul, but man, he brought it in that ring. The execution of that frog splash to the table, excellently done. Eddie Guerrero would be super proud. Yeah, most of this show pretty much delivered. The weakest match of the night for me, though, was Ronda and Liv Morgan. I was not a fan of the way they booked that. To me, it did feel like a Vince McMahon type of booking. I was like, you either got to go make Liv Morgan look strong in defeat, or you actually have her just straight up beat Ronda, and Ronda goes heel because she's a sore loser in the storyline. The way they did, I'm like, just go all the way with Liv or don't. That was my only thing. And the main event, like many people, and I think I said here on both NoDQ my review, I was done as far as Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns was concerned. But man, did that match deliver. That was hands down the best match they have had. The tractor spot was something that made me legitimately go like, holy crap! And that was fantastic. Shout out to Triple H. I don't know what he did to get these guys that motivated in a match, but he did it. Tremendous stuff. And one more moment that really made me laugh out loud was when Corbin was coming out and his music stopped and you got the choir, "Come ask Corbin." Yes. I was cracking up, man. It was overall fun. I just wish the Usos didn't interfere and they let Roman get the clean victory. But other than that, man, there ain't a lot to complain about this SummerSlam. Like I said in my introduction, fun, WWE, a combination that we haven't had consistently for a long time. And I'm hoping that with Triple H's vision, that's more of what's to come.
Yeah, I mean, Walter, so a couple things that stick out to me, like, Logan Paul looked like he went through 3 years of NXT, and he didn't. Like, that was amazing, okay? And we know the Paul brothers box, so they're athletic. Pat McAfee, even when he's sloppy, the guy just somehow he's just magic in the ring. He can hold his balance, keep from disaster. I don't know how he does it, but that's great when you're entertaining in front of fans live and you look like you could easily botch, yet you don't. And of course, the main event. And I was giving Roman credit of falling out of the ring, right? And I heard some people were like skeptical of that spot. And then, somebody smarted me up with the other angle, and it looked like he might have hammed it up a little bit, but it was steeper than it looked. And he rolled out of that ring. And, kudos to those guys for doing that. They didn't have to. They could have had another 12-minute match like WrestleMania. Right? But they didn't. They went out and they did that. Walter Cruz, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think SummerSlam was awesome. There's really nothing negative to say. The only negative is how many matches I got wrong in the prediction league.
But is that bad? That should be. We should be looking at that. If you are getting matches wrong, should be a good.
I'm not mad because that means it wasn't predictable. That's how I look at it. I don't mind being at the bottom here. And I mean, they pulled out all the stops with that Roman Reigns. I mean, who the hell thinks of a tractor? Like I honestly, once I saw the tractor in my head, automatically the ending came to me. I thought Roman would like pin Brock with the end of it, with the digger part, so that he can't get up. But other than that, that was the only thing I was thinking. I was like, maybe he'll bury him and then cover him with that digger so he can't get up, kind of like how Rock was pinned when Mick Foley used the forklift in the
classic.
Yeah, I thought they would do something along those lines, but they didn't. And kudos, I shout out to Roman, the way he rolled out of that ring. Yeah, I mean, he was game. You can see how much fun they both were having. They were like, we're going all out for this. Let's just if it's truly going to be their last match, what a hell of a way to end that rivalry. And then the Tribal Chief moves on to Drew McIntyre, and we'll see what happens with that at the over in Europe. But yeah, Logan Paul, you said he looks like he went through 3 years of NXT. He really does. And I said it in the predictions. I said, for all the shit people talk about Logan, half of us wouldn't go try to do what he did, and he looked good. He looked sharp. He looked crisp. There wasn't botches. You can tell he really worked hard. I just wish he had his own finisher. That's the only thing. Don't use the skull crushing finale, because then what are you gonna do once
Yeah,
the
he'll
Miz
develop it in time.
Yeah. Once you and Miz rivalry's over, you're gonna need your own move. But I mean, I look forward to see more. Now he signed a multi-year contract. Let's see what he's got to offer. He can only get better from here.
I got one thing I want to add on about Logan Paul, that this is really a good testament. That man came in getting booed because he's the outsider, and he did such a great performance. At the end, the fans were cheering. That is tremendous. And on Corbin's part, I don't know if you noticed, there was a part where he pushed Michael Cole, and the fans booed. I've seen Steve Austin with a belt with Michael Cole. Lesnar give him the F5, The Rock give him the rock bottom, and they get cheered no matter whether they're heel or face. That tells you how good Corbin is as a heel. They don't like him pushing, the fans didn't like him pushing Cole. That was tremendous.
Yeah, it like what was the other announcer back in the day? The Rock Kelly, I think his name was Kelly.
Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly that Rock used to mess with all the time, and it was the funniest thing ever. So now Michael's in that role, and it is true that everybody cheers. Like when Jerry fought Michael Cole, everybody cheers when you mess with him. For him to boo, let you know what Happy Corbin did too.
And Cole was fantastic on the show. With Vince McMahon not in his ear, Cole absolutely brought it.
You can see that you can see that he doesn't have his finger on him on the pulse anymore.
2.0. Oh wait,
yeah,
no, I didn't say that, dude. Well, and Miz, people need to give Miz credit, because
I always do.
Yep.
There's people out there that don't, but like, he is a good fixture for them in WWE, because Logan Paul could become a huge star, and the Miz kind of could have been a catalyst for that. So I know a lot of people still knock the Miz, but he's really good at what he does.
If you notice, Miz is the measuring stick. Every time somebody comes in, who do they pair him with? Every time a celebrity comes in, every time someone new, somebody they want to get over, the first person they always pair him with is the Miz. He has become the measuring stick, and no one is even giving him credit for that.
Now, we got some spammers in the chat, right? And I don't know what they're talking about, but nonetheless, get rid of them. Hey, the Riddle thing with Seth, I don't know if they canceled the match. I don't know if they should have necessarily did that, but I get it. They're building that. That's going to probably be at the next pay-per-view or PLE over in Wales. So, Aaron, what are your thoughts? Obviously, this is rehash for you at this point, but would you like to add anything?
You guys all made great points. I very much enjoyed the show. I gave it an A-. I think it was one of the better SummerSlams in recent history. I mean, I was even going as far as to say it was a top 5 SummerSlam. Like, that main event was a spectacle, and I could see it now. They're going to have those action figure sets with the tractor. It was a great marketing idea, and it was creative. Like, that's something new, and I've seen pretty much everything. They managed to do something different with the ring to destroy it, and when that match was over, it looked like a war zone. It looked like those guys legitimately went to war, and that's what you want to see in a pay-per-view main event. You want to see these two guys just beat the holy hell out of each other and just have all that carnage and pandemonium, and that's what we got in that match. So big thumbs up. Best Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match, in my opinion, even better than 31, which I was at. That was a good match.
And we had Bayley return, Edge, who really wasn't out that long, return. Like, you had something of everything here. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I really enjoyed the show. And Virtue, I think that what you said earlier about the arenas and the stadiums, I would like to see maybe somewhere in the middle where WWE does the soccer stadiums with like the 30,000 seat capacity. Yeah. You know, the smaller stadiums where it's not the big NFL stadium, but they could still put more people in and actually have the place full instead of using half the stadium. I think they should do that more often. Do some of these shows in these smaller soccer stadiums for SummerSlam and the Royal Rumble, Survivor Series. Well, I wonder if they'll rebuild Survivor Series now. Survivor Series has kind of fallen as far as importance goes in recent history. And now with Triple H back in control, I'm wondering if maybe he'll use the War Games concept for Survivor Series, and maybe we can get Survivor Series important again to where it actually feels like a top 4 pay-per-view. So we'll see what happens. And Christopher, I think the fans in attendance were probably just happy that they got to see something really cool. Yeah, maybe some of them got their views obstructed, but that's how it goes with the live events. You never know what to expect.
Aaron, I want to say fantastic point on the Survivor Series. I want Survivor Series to mean something this year. Make it feel like a big pay-per-view, and this showed that you can make something that has been left out for so long for being something spectacular. Just put the effort, the stories in there, and man, we got gold for Survivor Series. I hope Triple H makes it happen.
Yeah, I hope so too. We'll see. Time will tell on that one. And I'm very optimistic about things. I mean, cautiously optimistic. I still wonder if Vince is going to be back in the fold in some capacity at some point, but we'll see. We do have a few super chats here. Actually, quite a few just popped in. So I guess I'll get into these now. Walter decided to throw one in for us. So thank you, Walter. I appreciate it as always. Walter,
I had to. I almost forgot. I was like, wait a minute, my shtick.
You're the new big baller of NoDQ. I love Big G, but you've been doing the super chats a lot. So Walter says, say yes to NoDQ, give a thumbs up and share. Hashtag stick to my shtick. Appreciate that, Walter. And Oofman Entertainment sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Oof. I appreciate it, man. Hope you're doing well. Says some soccer stadiums are every touchy on events that need floors to be put on the grass, unless the grass is fake and field turf that can be removed. I'm not sure what any of that meant. As
I have no idea what he's talking about.
But I'm going to take his word for it that maybe it's a more complicated process for a wrestling show.
I don't know how that would work since I don't follow sports much, but I'm going to assume WWE would probably have enough money to spread out however many, like the mats and stuff that they need to make a harder surface. Pretty sure they could probably afford it.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. But then again, WWE, they're like, well, why not just run the NFL stadium so we don't have to bother with that? That's probably their attitude. But I'd like to see it. I think the vibe would be really cool, like a soccer stadium. It's something different that we really haven't seen before. Anyways, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. I guess this is for Walter. He wants to know, when will Walter get a 7 autograph? Do you know who 7 is, Walter?
Of course I know 7. I think Dustin denies that part of his own history, so I wouldn't even dare ask him for that.
He was basically Uncle Fester on Halloween, scaring all the little kids. But I think they could have done something with that gimmick. Like, I know they pretty much just made it a joke, but I actually thought it kind of looked cool with the makeup and everything and the entrance.
From what I understand, Russo said the network scrapped it because the creeping onto the little kid's bedroom, and they just said, let's not do it.
I mean, this is 1999, not 2022.
But I know, but that's what
Vince maybe could have made the gimmick work, leave that aside, and actually just make it like a more darker version of the Goldust character. I think Vince could have made it work back then.
Yeah, probably. 7 has got to be one of those what if scenarios. Like, what could have that character been if they actually gave it a chance? Anyways, we got one more super chat here from Dr. Scorpio. He sent in $2. He says, hope we get Lashley versus Gunther at Survivor Series. Yes. That would be interesting. Here's the thing, though. I'm not the biggest fan of the one night a year where it's brand versus brand. I'm kind of over that. I'm hopeful they'll do something like the War Games match for Survivor Series. Like, since it was a Triple H idea to bring back that concept, and apparently Vince, doesn't want to do something that he did not create. I hope Triple H brings back War Games for the main roster.
I wonder if that's where they're going with this women's feud, if that's why they're trying to build up maybe like a 4 or 5 woman team to eventually build towards Survivor Series for maybe War Games. So I'm curious to see if that's where Triple H goes with it.
Yeah, I agree with Aaron completely because it just I don't know. There's just I'm over that whole brand because the brand doesn't mean crap for the whole year, and then we're supposed to care about it one night a year. Like, get out of here! Like, especially when somebody just got drafted, like when they used to do the draft right before, and now all of a sudden I'm Team Blue. I don't care about red. Like, you just got drafted a week ago. Shut up.
Remember when NXT won Survivor Series?
I was at that Survivor Series.
That was awesome.
That was there awesome. Live. A fun night.
Yeah, we very quickly forgot about that one. But anyways, Mr. Anderson sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Says, we had a Dark Goldust character, Black Rain, in TNA. Anybody remember Relic?
I do.
Yeah, what a crappy gimmick that was. Man, TNA, oh God, don't even get me started on that. Let's just move on.
Now, and of course, look at, hey, the trolls, if you can hear me out there and you're doing your thing in the chat, perfect. You dance to my puppet strings. You can't get enough of me. You have to come into our chat and put obscenities that you're going to get blasted out because I own you. Just remember that, whoever you are out there. But nonetheless, thanks for your views. And we are going to move on and talk about Triple H's era. So, gentlemen, I want some fans. I want to tell some fans, slow your roll with this, okay? Give him time. Immediately, I see people. Did people hate Vince McMahon that much? Did he sleep with their mothers and their sisters and paid them? I'm just trying to figure out the man that put wrestling globally on the map bigger than it ever was. Just people hate him because of his creative, because he's a sexual deviant, whatever. If you don't like him, just don't talk about him. But so what I'm getting at here, Walter Cruz, I'm going to come to you first. You think people are getting excited too quickly for this new Triple H era? Raw is not going to become NXT. Could some of Triple H's visions get integrated into Raw with how he did NXT? Yes. The whole thing is not going to become that. Triple H knows he still has to do things, the larger than life, the casual fan. I think he's going to try to find a nice balance. So these fans that want all NXT, I know you love that product, the Triple H NXT. I call it the old NXT. I think they need to just slow their roll. What do you guys think? Give Triple H time. I think I want to see somebody, because Vince McMahon couldn't do it. I want to see somebody that caters to everybody. What do you think?
Yeah, and it's easier said than done. To cater to everybody is such a difficult task. And I said it on the last few streams, that don't rush it. You got to give it some time. And if you jump the gun too soon and you're like, Triple H is the greatest thing, then he does one thing wrong, it's going to lead to a complete disappointment. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. You got to calm down. Let's see what happens. Patient. It's 2022. I know people's attention span are 3 minutes. You forget about something 2 seconds later. Exactly. They probably already forgot the troll you just did 5 minutes ago, trolling everybody. It's people's attention span, but you got to slow your roll, slow down. Let's see what's going to happen and give it some time. Rome wasn't built in a day, is the old cliche, and he's not going to change 30, 40 years of business in weeks. You got to give it time. You can see his influence on it right now, but don't jump the gun.
And you still I still have to believe that in some way, shape, or form, even at home, sitting at home, because his daughter and his son-in-law are in place, there's still going to be Vince McMahon things that are done because they still respect him. That's the father-in-law, that's the father, the grandfather to the children. They're going to always do that. Vince McMahon's vision will never truly go away 100% from WWE. And there are fans that hate him so much, or I get it, right? He's different. Wrestling fans like matches and wrestling and in-ring work. Vince McMahon likes to do all the weird stuff. There are fans that like that. Hopefully Triple H can have a perfect. I've talked about it for years, Aaron, that the promoter needs to find out how to have a perfect blend for everybody. That's how you're going to grow the audience. Guess what? Raw jumped up, biggest rating forever. Son, what do you think here?
Yeah, I briefly touched on this towards the end of my SummerSlam review, and mostly what I was saying is, listen, when it comes to Vince McMahon, the man's got his own issues, obviously, and that's going to be for him to deal with, but as a fan who's watched his product since 1994, I've seen a lot of highs and I've seen a lot of lows, and unfortunately, after buying out WCW, and particularly, I said, in the last decade plus, Vince McMahon just creatively has not been what he used to be, whereas Triple H, basically, I know that he's a fan, and therefore he's going to have that amazing love and passion still basically there for WWE. On the Logan Paul podcast, he said something, it was about an 8-second part, where Logan was trying to make a suggestion. He's like, and what the heck do I know? And then Triple H says, well, you're a fan, so you do know. I love that mindset. It is so great to hear somebody that high up in WWE be like, yeah, we realize that, you know, fans are smart to the business and we want to make this fun. So that shows you like a little difference into the mentality of what Triple H is booking. But very true, we can't push right away. I even said in my review that, honestly, I don't know if this is going to be for the good in the long term or for the bad in the long term. We're going to see how far Triple H can really push in terms of being able to cater to a higher audience. However, I think what we will see is WWE will make a lot more sense from a logical standpoint, and we saw that. Look at Becky Lynch's babyface promo and how she tied it into how she lost herself as a heel. Love it. Making sense versus how many times we've seen somebody turns for no reason at all. That's great things. I loved him bringing the U.S. title back to Prestige. I think we're going to see these mid-card titles make something. I love that he's putting a bigger focus on the women. Hopefully we get there with the tag team and just basically start to make things that makes more sense. To piggyback off of something Walter said about how hard it is, I think it is very easy to make a wrestling show that makes sense. Basically something you can watch and have fun, but it takes a lot of effort, truly, and something to the next level to make it where it's going to cater to that hardcore, not hardcore audience, but the mainstream audience. Get people going like, you know, I ain't watched WWE in years, but that guy or that girl, I need to go ahead and watch that. Let's see if Triple H can get to that level, but I think at least he's going to make this whole thing make sense, but it's going to be a gradual change. It's going to take over the next months and years. Give it time. Triple H has got a long way to pick up basically from where Vince had left off, because there's just so much that WWE has, I feel, gone downhill creatively. It's going to take a long time to get it back up, but I think Triple H is in the right direction.
Aaron.
I agree with what you guys said. As far as Vince McMahon goes, like, we all have mixed opinions of the guy, and we all can appreciate his accomplishments, and we can also say at the same time that he was probably out of touch creatively. Now, as far as a business goes, Virtue, you'll definitely back this up. They've been doing very well. They've been highly profitable. Even when creatively people have been complaining about the product, you still have people tuning in. But then again, I've been saying this about The Simpsons for decades. Like, the show got very stale after about 1998, 1999, yet they kept going, and they've been running for 30 plus years. They've been successful, even though a lot of the old school fans would say that it has been creatively stale for a very long time. And that's what a lot of WWE fans say, and a lot of wrestling fans that maybe have given up on WWE or try to watch out of loyalty. You know, they're fed up with it, but then WWE creates new fans. They have kids that start watching, and they have women that tune in, and they just have a different audience from your hardcore wrestling fans, and they just have managed to stay highly profitable. So regardless of what you think about Vince as a human being, he's definitely made some questionable decisions, but I do not think that his legacy can be denied. He brought us so many countless hours of entertainment, and I think creatively he was at his best when he had his back up against the wall.
Yep.
When people were pushing him. In the 80s, he was trying to build the empire. He was, as they said, betting everything on WrestleMania, hoping it would succeed. It did. And then in the late 90s with the Attitude Era, it was kind of like a renaissance of wrestling as far as the creativity goes. And then after that, he kind of just got into a pattern, and it became a very difficult show to watch at times. But there were still moments where you were reminded why you fell in love with it in the first place. Every now and then they pull off something really special, whether it was Daniel Bryan winning at WrestleMania 30, whether it was John Cena coming back and having these great matches with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn doing the U.S. Open Challenge.
He still allowed the CM Punk pipe bomb to happen.
Part of the problem was there was no real competition. WCW forced him to do better stuff, and then when he bought out that company, that's when it went kind of downhill and got stagnant, and he went into that pattern. There was no real competition.
And fans got mad at him because they didn't want to be told who to like. Remember the whole Cena thing?
Yeah.
And that really dumped on Roman. Well, turns out Vince was right, because Roman's the most over person in professional wrestling today.
Sure is.
But yeah, he definitely was getting past the times, and you can only do a job for so long where you have to like retire and enjoy life and let somebody else do it younger. And Vince was 70-some years old. Like, yeah, he definitely it passed him up.
So good old JM Jeff Mechem sent us this Paul Heyman's comments on Vince McMahon, and basically Paul Heyman said anybody out there celebrating Vince being gone is a fool. Now, here's the thing about Paul Heyman. Of course, he's going to praise Vince. Paul Heyman has been paid.
Everybody that's been, is praising Vince, made their money off of it, because of Vince. So I get it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what people are expecting Paul Heyman to say. Oh yeah, we're so happy that Vince is gone, and I hope he goes to prison for everything. And
yeah, exactly.
he's not going to go and say that. And
I don't you know what I mean? If he did anything wrong, as long as he didn't rape anybody, go to sensitivity classes. Go get some counseling, right? So you can be a better person. I believe that in everybody. Right. If you did something super heinous, you go to prison. Right. I'm definitely all on board that. But people deserve to become better for their transgressions and their sins. And that's the thing. There's some fan. Nope. You know how social media is. You're guilty. That's it. You're a scumbag the rest of your life, Hulk Hogan. I mean,
people
Hulk
forget
Hogan
the
documented one time we know of him saying rape because he was caught on camera. And now people hate him forever.
People forget the consensual aspect of this. These women voluntarily did this. I mean, they accept the money, but
here's the thing: it's hard to really watch wrestling if you're going to be that judgmental and more of a person, because most wrestlers, especially from the previous generation, did a lot of questionable things. Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Vince McMahon. The list goes on, and there's probably so many stories that just never came out. You have to wonder what things people were doing that we just never found out about. That was how society was in the wrestling business. It was pretty toxic. So you have to accept that these guys are not great human beings, at least from that era, and you have to really just focus on their body of work. Because if you judge them by how they are in real life, then really you shouldn't. There's most of the guys that competed in the 80s and 90s, you probably should not support them in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, and for every one thing that was revealed, there's probably 50 things we don't know.
Yeah.
Son?
I wanted to add, this is something that my stepfather raised me with, and I've been talking to everyone that I've talked to about the Vince McMahon situation. This is what I've used. My stepfather taught me, get caught up in the message, not the messenger. And I always think that's something good to apply when it comes to celebrities. Enjoy the work. However, don't let it get to the point where you have to get caught up into what goes on behind their work, how they are as a person. They can make good work, but at the same time, don't use that to get caught up. If someone's good at what they do, they're good. Yeah. But you just can't. If you mix the two, then that's when you can get in issues. Right. I have friends who I know they used to like someone's work, but then they found out this information. Oh man, now I gotta, I can't stand it anymore. Because I used to look up to this person. I'm like, and I'll be like, you can look up to their work because if their work inspired you, then by all means go ahead with that and everything. That's why I said Vince McMahon, from '94 to now, he definitely has provided me lots of entertainment. Now, if I'm going to look at his personal life with all the horrible things that we've heard others say according to those who have dealt with him personally, that's a different story. But in terms as a fan and as a work and everything, the man truly has done some great things for pro wrestling, and I don't think none of us would be here if it wasn't for him. So what I'm saying basically is you have to know how to take the good and the bad.
Yeah, it's complicated. Vince McMahon, no doubt, a very complicated personality.
Yeah.
And another thing, it's just it's tough because wrestlers tend to be blended with their real life personalities and their on-screen characters. So, like, when is Ric Flair, the person off camera, and when's he the person on camera? You really don't know, because he's like Ric Flair 24/7. For some of these guys, like they blend their characters and their real life personalities so much. Like is it Hulk Hogan or Terry Bollea? Like you don't really know what you're getting.
And I want to add on, I'm not saying that good work should excuse bad behavior. I'm just saying you're going to have to slice that in half. Okay, their work was good, and it sucks to hear they're not that good of a person, but you're going to have to really learn how to divide the two instead of mixing it together. At least that's the way I like to look at it, and I think it can be helpful when dealing with that type of things of work versus the person behind the work.
Great point. I mean, like look at, I'm in the chat, I'm this horrible person by this troll this evening with all these weird things that are coming out, but yet here I am being able to professionally be worked with, right? And we're all having a good time. Oh, wait a minute, that was a troll. But yeah, son, I agree with you there. It's think about watching movies and going like singers, and how many people like in real life probably that they're following if they really knew the real person, and that's been that way forever. Like it's tough. Entertainer, it's hard to be in entertainment. And sometimes those people, they lead great lives privately. Sometimes they're not the nicest people in the world. And that's true across all entertainment.
Well said, Virtue. And we do have a super chat here, so I'll get to that real quickly. Dr. Scorpio said, the last 10 years, and thank you for the super chat. He says, the last 10 years of Vince was terrible creatively. It's going to take months to see the changes. Some fans are being impatient, in my opinion. Yes. I wonder if that was directed at me. I mean, I liked Raw. I'm not sure what you guys thought. The general consensus was it was a better show than usual. But yeah, I still think I got to see more. And, it's not going to be drastically different overnight. They're going to make small little adjustments over time. But yeah, so far, I think it's promising.
Yeah, it's just like you said, we can't judge a good person off the bad things they do. We can't say Raw is going to be awesome and do it off of one show.
Yeah,
you can't. It's the same thing. You can't do that.
Aaron, are we caught up with super chats?
We're caught up, and Jose Garza looking forward to episode 200 in 2 weeks. Remember, everybody, 2 weeks. We might do something next Thursday night. Virtue's going to be busy with something else, but we might come up with a debate or do something next Thursday night in that time slot. We'll see.
All right, this is a segment that I just assumed skip past, but let's talk about AEW. So Young Bucks got like the undisputed, what are they called? The undisputed elite? I don't even know, era, whatever. Turned on the Young Bucks. Was that on Dynamite this week, gentlemen? Yeah. Hey, what were the numbers, by the way, for ratings? Are they still
the usual 930,000?
Okay. All right, they're not dropping, so that's good. Son, I don't know. Have you been keeping up with AEW? Anything happened recently that you like, that you don't like? Some of the turns, the swerves. I know people. There's always rumors of people coming in. A lot of injuries, of course. Thoughts on All Elite Wrestling?
Well, the biggest thing that I'm really enjoying is the Acclaim right now, going babyface and actually getting a credible win, because they come out, it's like, oh, here goes the entrance, because the Acclaim was one of the things, like, I could be here editing my content and I hear that whole horn come off, listen, right? And I'm like, oh, yep, I'm going to turn to my TV. I'm like, yep, I'm listening, right? And then after that, I would stop watching because I know they're going to lose. So it was really cool. I like what they were doing, basically, with Billy Gunn's sons. That that was cool. I think Tony Khan should definitely put the tag team titles on the Acclaim. As you guys know, I like to talk a lot about that the matches are good. Wrestling all around the board is good. But in terms of characters and stories, I look at the Acclaim and I'm like, that's someone who could attract, or those are two guys that definitely could attract somebody from the audience. You know, that person be like, what's this AEW wrestling? I got to check it out. These Acclaim guys are pretty entertaining. So I think they're doing the right thing. So I guess they're planning for Kenny Omega to come back. I think that's going to be a good series because they're starting the trilogy title. So that's cool. The whole thing with like John Moxley, was it the Blackpool Combat Club and everything? That's cool to see. Yeah, I mean, like there's not much to complain about for AEW. It's just a matter of seeing what they're going to do to try and push things. They've taken some hit on the talent. I'll see what they got hopefully coming up maybe in the fall for MJF and see where they do when they do the championship. So yeah, right now I would say AEW not much to complain about. Just want to see them push storylines and characters more. That's about most I got to say about that. But I definitely enjoying it.
Walter, did I see correctly? Did they do the whole New Age Outlaws, Chainsaw Charlie, Mick Foley dumpster thing there? And
yeah.
You know what? And I'm not going to knock them, like, because of who was involved, like Billy Gunn's kids and whatnot. Like, I'm going to say, okay, like, you know, people will say, oh, you're trying to be like WWE, you're poaching all the wrestlers. But in this instance, because I'm a sports entertainment guy, that's the kind of stuff, when I see that, I want to then make sure I watch that whole segment. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
I am not opposed to seeing stuff like that, and it could make a great angle. What do you think?
It can, and the fact that you got nostalgia and you got these people that were involved in this before, use them up. Like, you might as well. It'll keep things interesting. And in terms of the general product, I need to see what they're doing with this MJF thing. They need to hurry it up, because if it was me, I would have taken advantage of this whole.
We talked about this. They're too busy trying to make it seem like a shoot,
real,
and the dirt sheets are reporting it like nobody's talking.
It's too much.
Yeah,
I would have had MJF.
20 years ago, they could get away with that. We are in the day of we just know it's not the case.
Exactly. I would have had MJF sending tweets right now. Let me out of my contract. Triple H took over. You should have. Kept pushing this.
If he shows up on WWE television during this. That's the only way I would ever buy it.
I'm with you.
They made a deal with WWE. Hey, could you slip him on your TV show? And that's just never going to happen.
Yeah. Go ahead, son. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question because I've heard so many fans talk about it. Obviously, when Punk walked out, a lot of people said, well, they brought him back too soon. When MJF walks out, they're actually trying to keep him off TV for months. But like Virtue said, we're all too smart to the business now.
Yeah.
And I know, maybe TNA, did they do the storyline best? They took AJ off of TV for a while, but he was still active in other companies going around defending the title. So do you guys think maybe TNA probably did this type of story the best? What is a suitable time to tell this type of story? I would love to hear you all's opinions.
This Punk was too soon. This is dragged out too long. Yeah. So you find something in the middle. I got to give MJF credit, because whether he was upset about his, like, there could have been some sense of reality to this behind the scenes that we never knew about. But obviously, the matches happened, the promo happened. Tony Khan let him be on TV doing all that. So they came up with this. Kudos to MJF for sitting at home collecting a paycheck and not having to work, right? Like, this is Sting got to do it for a year, and he'd have to show up and still come down from the rafters, point a bat, dress up. MJF just has to stay at home and be quiet. Like, so kudos to him for getting this deal, this paid sabbatical.
Yeah, it's definitely sit back and make money. But man, if I was Tony, I would have had him active on social media. Let me out of my contract. It's a new era. Triple H is taking over.
Why is he not tweeting?
WWE.
Why is he not tweeting as himself? Why is he not tweeting like he really is pissed?
You want to talk about trolling? I would have definitely trolled. I would have been like, Triple H is taking over. Let me out of my damn contract. I'm going to WWE. I would have mentioned them by name. I would have been tagging WWE. I would have made this as real as possible. And then, as soon as you bring him back, and imagine the pop he gets after he keeps mentioning WWE and everything, but then AEW found a way to keep him under contract, and he returned, and they won out. It'll make AEW
Dude, I said
better
this
than
before.
WWE. Yeah.
He returns with an attorney saying he has the right to be, like, you know what I mean? Just to make it like you put some sense to it, right? Have him come with an attorney saying.
I'm just hoping they're not waiting for CM Punk to heal up just so he could take the title. That's going to be way too long. You don't know how legit bad CM Punk's knee injury is. It could be longer. I mean, people have timetables, but some people come back sooner. Some people come back. No, he's legit hurt.
Wasn't his ankle though?
Oh, his ankle. I thought you said it wasn't an ankle. Yeah, his ankle. I thought it was his knee for a second. But if it's not a smart idea if you're waiting for him to heal just so that you can do that and heal to come back just to lose the title to MJF. Let MJF come back and build momentum so he looks like a credible challenger. Because I do want MJF to beat Punk, but I don't want Punk to come back from an injury and automatically that fast lose to MJF with no momentum, no nothing. You just came off the shelf and got a title. Like, you can't hold it off too long. There's a balance. And to answer Sonny, TNA did it best with AJ. They really did. And it's weird to give TNA credit, but they did.
Dude, and I want to talk about it on the review every week. Like, what's next with this MJF angle? Mm-hmm. And with him not being there, we really can't. We can just argue if is it too long or when's the right time to bring him back. Aaron, what's your thoughts here on AEW? Anything recent that you haven't really said on your streams?
I just want MJF back like everybody else. And next week, I hope he shows up. I hope he shows up after Jon Moxley beats Chris Jericho at the Quick by the Lake, and then they set up All Out. Jon Moxley versus MJF. MJF wins the title, and then Full Gear, it's CM Punk versus MJF, champion versus champion. I've been saying this now pretty much every week, and if they don't shoot the angle next week, I'm going to be disappointed because I think it's time to bring back MJF. I think we've milked this long enough. All Out's coming up. You need a big main event. And I think MJF versus Moxley for the interim title will be a hot main event. MJF saying that he's going to take the title and maybe walk away from AEW. Jon Moxley has to be the guy that shuts him up, or at least tries to, but he's not going to be successful. And then CM Punk comes in. And to me, CM Punk versus MJF, champion versus champion at Full Gear to crown the undisputed champion. I think that could very well be the biggest pay-per-view buy ever for AEW if they play their cards right.
But one thing I wish AEW would stop doing is stop having named something special every other week. Can we just have a Dynamite? Why's it got to be
stop your rankings?
Stop doing this.
Stop your rankings. Just put matches together based on feuds or maybe who's on a winning streak. Because Aaron, if MJF comes back and gets a title shot because of their rankings, how does he just leapfrog Wardlow? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Get rid of your rankings, base it on feuds like we always used to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, MJF, you could argue that he should get the title match, and that could be the terms for him coming back, that he gets the title match.
Yeah. If you make this,
But to go off of ranking works in the UFC because it's real fighting. These are scripted, predetermined matches. You can't do ranking. Yeah, I do remember that.
Tried to do something in TNA.
WCW did too.
Yeah.
WCW.
I think they can
never
work.
cared about rankings in wrestling.
Me
I
neither.
think the rankings can work, but you got to stay committed. And I think too many times it's like, oh, this guy is getting really hot down here, but we don't want to wait 5 weeks for him to beat these guys. Let's push him right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes I guess it forces you. Like what Aaron, you always like to say, you got to strike when the iron is hot. Sometimes you don't have to.
The rankings are too easy to screw with. It's like Goldberg's streak. You could just lie and say, no, he won 30 on house shows. You know what I mean?
and plus, guys just rack up wins on AEW Dark so they can just manipulate it however they want just by having all these dark matches. And, the same thing with Goldberg's streak. They just had him work all the house shows and inflate that number that way, and it was just kind of lame. But it did work with Goldberg with the whole streak thing the first time. Yeah, remember, I don't know if people remember, they tried it a second time. They tried a second streak, and then that did not work over so well. And I think Sid tried to do a streak too, and that was pretty
that was pretty bad.
Yeah. All right, so now we got a few super chats. Let's get to these. Mr. Anderson sent in $5. And by the way, shout out to Ken Terminated by DQ back in the chat room for the first time in a long time. Good to see Ken. Mr. Anderson says, AEW was awesome. Undisputed Era turned on the Young Bucks. Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy for the 100th time in a wrestling business. Now, wait a minute. Was that sarcasm like that?
Had to be.
Yeah,
Had to
Christian
be.
Cage versus Matt Hardy for the 100th time. I liked
So-
the turn. I thought the turn was well done. Matt Hardy and Christian, whatever. I know people are wondering, like, what's the deal with Luchasaurus? I think you just got to be patient with that one and let it play out. And everything else I thought was pretty solid. Son, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say I don't know if you guys saw there was somebody screen capped it. There was a funny sign in the front row when Christian versus Matt Hardy was on, and it said that I played this match on No Mercy.
Eh.
For those of
I
you that
liked
grew
it.
up with Nintendo 64.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot. That was a good sign. Shout out to Billy L, who says he's been watching since the beginning, but he just doesn't participate in the chat too much. But we appreciate it, Billy L. Thank you for your long-term viewership. Thank you to everybody for watching, whether it's been one episode or 199. Thank you guys for that. Psycho Jet Black. Oh, we'll get to Psychos in a minute. Let me get Dr. Scorpios in. He sent in $5. He says, CM Punk chased MJF after the pipe bomb segment. I think they're going to build from there, but Punk got hurt. Yeah, you might be right on that, but that's why I think CM Punk should face MJF champion versus champion. MJF wins that interim title. Obviously, CM Punk and MJF is a long-term direction for the title, but I think champion versus champion would be a very compelling match for Full Gear. So we'll see what they do. I mean, maybe that's what they have planned, maybe not. Give them the benefit of the doubt that they have a game plan here with MJF, and it'll be worth the wait. And we do have a super chat from Psycho Jet Black. He says, is anyone worried about AEW because of Discovery? I'm not, because they're the top-rated show. Now, I think the concern is will they get a raise when the contract is up for renewal? That's the big question. With all the cutbacks, they might not get a very big raise, if any at all. That's the big question at this point. But I think AEW will be fine. I do not think they're in any danger of being canceled. Anybody want to add to that? Oh, Son, you're on mute.
No, I agree with you. I don't think they're in danger.
I was gonna say that I think that's why it's important for them to definitely try and get those ratings back up over 1 million, just because I think it would look a lot nicer when it comes time to negotiate, saying, hey, we're getting close to the same ratings as we were when this deal first happened. So I think that will be important in the fall. So Tony Khan, I think, really is going to have to go all out this fall.
If anything, Aaron, maybe Rampage gets axed, but that would be it. I mean, Dynamite, there's no way, because they have to pay a lot of money to play movies in those time slots, that people have seen hundreds and hundreds of times that draw. Like, that's why, even though AEW is not hitting 1 million, I will give them benefit of the doubt. In those slots, like for Dynamite, 950,000, that's more than if they had a Avengers movie there that might only get 375,000 views that night. And the networks know that.
Yeah.
I don't know what they pay to play those movies versus what they pay AEW, but I'm sure they're getting a lot more ad revenue because there's still more people watching it.
Right. And to respond to Richard in the chat, the thing that's different is that when the deal was signed and Dynamite started on TNT, AEW was still an unknown entity. Now they've established that they can draw a pretty decent number every Wednesday night. They can be number one on cable, 5-6 weeks in a row. They can pull that off. They have that track record. So I think there's a chance they might get a raise. But, yeah, I think like what Son said, if they can get those numbers up a little bit higher over the next couple of months, I think that could definitely help their odds of getting more money when their renewal is up.
Maybe they should do on Fridays, do a little bit more live rampages that might get your viewers up. The fact that it's pre-taped all the time and we all know what's going to happen, you might drop down. You might raise it up on Fridays if you do that.
And I'll admit, I do not watch Rampage, so I usually may have to wait after I listen to one of Aaron's reviews and go like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me go ahead and watch it, because it seems, and I think Robbie Vice made this point, that Tony Khan does a good job of making you care about the live version, because that's where the big stuff goes down, as opposed to when it's taped.
That's my point. You need to
I
do
don't
it
know if
live.
it was Robbie or but somebody on here made the point. point.
And maybe take AEW Dark and turn it into ROH and try to strike a second TV deal with
and
that.
If you remember, back in the Attitude Era, they Raw every other week was taped.
Mhm.
Russo, obviously, they wanted to save the really good stuff for the live shows, but Russo and Ferrara, whoever wrote, with Vince, the tape shows, they would still, knowing spoilers were going to get out there because the internet was starting to get big, they still would put something that would make people, oh, I got to tune in to see that, even though I know what happens.
Yep.
But anyway, Aaron, are we ready for the main event?
Let's do it.
Well, could be the last time we put Ric Flair regarding wrestling in our main event of the NoDQ review, but he had his match. It was, of course, himself and Andrade versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal and the Jim Crockett Promotions thing that they did over the weekend. And I have to tell you, Flair, I didn't expect him to look good at all. I knew he was going to be slow. I knew some of the stuff was going to look awkward. The fans still got, to me, I see a mixed reaction. Some people were like, wow, that was awful. Some people were like, well, hey, we're watching Flair's last match. In a lot of people's eyes, Michaels and Flair was his last match, right? But here's the thing. He went out there and he did it, and we know that if he died in the ring, that's how he would want it. And it was a weird finish because Jarrett, he put the figure 4 on Jarrett, and he laid on his back, so Jarrett laid on his back, and instead of a tap out, it was a 3 count, but you could have easily said both men were counted out. So I don't know if Flair said he passed out or whatever, but it's in the books, gentlemen. I just need to know your thoughts, the chat's thoughts. I am not upset about it. I think he had the right to go do this if he wanted to, and I think he is okay, right? Doctors checked him out, and he went to an after party afterwards. Walter Cruz. Man, he did it. Ric Flair went out there and had some semblance of a last match. You think it's his last one? I mean, it has to be. I think he should be okay with appearances at this point, right?
You would think so, but he's Ric freaking Flair. You talk about Seth freaking Rollins, it's Ric Flair.
Oh, and Celebrity Row. They had
yeah.
all Undertaker, Bret Hart, they were all there.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah, but to me, in my mind, it's always WrestleMania 24. Shawn and Rick is his last match in my mind. It's just like Undertaker versus Shawn is Shawn's last match to me. Forget about Saudi Arabia to me. It's the same thing. I want to remember that glorious. And because of that, I'll be 1,000% honest. I didn't watch this match. I didn't want to go. I didn't see it because I always wanted to remember what I saw with the whole Shawn mouthing "I love you." I'm sorry, I love you, and then super kicking him and counting him. To me, that's always his last match, even though we know he had a TNA match after, and then you have this. But to me, that's his last match to me. But, I mean, who are we to tell him what to do and what he can do? He feels like he can go at it, then go for it. I
want to give props to Jeff Jarrett because a few things here. Now, we know he's working in some type of office capacity with WWE. I mean, in the post-Vince McMahon era, Jeff Jarrett, the founder of TNA, he could be with WWE for quite some time, and he played a good heel. He got the fans to hate him, and I hope that he can, he's one of the guys that Triple H might listen to, because let's face it, as much as we knock on TNA, could never beat that be that competition to WWE. It was the post WCW secondary company, and a lot of Ring of Honor stars came through there. We got to give Jarrett props. Here he is putting Flair over in Flair's last match, being a great heel, knowing he's working in WWE. I'd like to see those creative juices mesh with Triple H's, and there could be a lot of different types of fans and casuals catered to, and
not seeing his match, it shows his experience. I didn't see the match, but based on what you said, for him to recognize, oh crap, let me lay down and get counted out, that probably wasn't the original ending, but he's smart enough to know because he's so experienced, and he laid down and got the 3 count. So, I mean, Jeff Jarrett, he definitely deserves credit. I mean, me personally,
props to everybody in that match. Jay Lethal, Andrade.
Yeah. The only problem, I thought Jeff booked himself to win the title a little too much when he was in TNA, but other than that, I had no issue with him. I mean, he was 5-time champ within months. He kept booking himself to win the title, but if I owned the company, why the hell not, right?
Son, what do you think here? I know you said you didn't see it. I'm sure you've seen and heard about it on the internet. So from that perspective, what do you think?
Well, basically, for the same reason that I did not watch Shawn Michaels' match in Saudi Arabia is also the same reason I did not watch this match. Because like the song that they use for WrestleMania 24 regarding HBK and Ric Flair, I'm going to let the memories be left alone or something. It went like that. Yeah, and I did see, I think probably most of Ric Flair's TNA matches, but yeah, I just had no interest because I just felt like, he did have the perfect send-off, not just the perfect send-off match, but the perfect send-off period the next night on Raw. That was about as great of a finish to a career you could hope to ask for when you were of such a legendary status as Ric Flair in professional wrestling. I did see about one clip of the chops that he was doing, and it looked like the slowest chops I've ever seen Ric Flair do, and just based on what Aaron and other YouTubers and podcasters have stated, it sounds like, yeah, I'm better off leaving the memories alone back at WrestleMania 24. But hey, if this is what Ric Flair wants to do and the company and promotion that put it together is going to let him do it and everyone is willing to work with him, hey, it's it's the man's job. He can do what he wants to with his time and his money. There you go. Power to him. And I did hear some good things about Jeff Jarrett was still able to hang in there with the young guys at his age, so that's cool. Yeah, I was watching some clips of Jeff Jarrett and the way he would throw right hands and being like the heel shtick. What was it recently? I think he was doing the podcast with Steve Austin where he took a guitar and bashed was it Moolah over the head, and then Mae Young tries to get in. And he's like, "You want something too, you old bag? You can get this guitar too," and then bashes her. I'm like, man, yeah. So I would love to see if they can get maybe Jeff Jarrett to rub off some of that like heel work onto some of the younger talent. But getting back to Ric Flair, well, hey, he survived, and I think that's the best news coming out of all this. When I went down to Twitter and saw he was a bloody mess, that was the thing I was seeing. People kept saying he survived, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad he's still with us. But it sounds like Ric Flair no longer, from what I heard, really has no business probably being in the ring in terms of being able to give us what he used to give us in the ring.
Well, no, duh, he's 70-some years old.
Yeah.
I would rather watch a slow 73-year-old Ric Flair with slow chops than watch these wrestlers like in AEW do way more than they should because its fans are desensitized and botch any day of the week. So there you have it. Now, Aaron, go ahead, son.
No, I was just going to say the one thing about the best thing about the TNA version of Ric Flair was just the woo-off with Jay Lethal. That's the only thing I loved about anything he did in TNA.
Oh, that was good. That was classic.
Who?
Who what?
Who in TNA? Who are we talking about?
Ric Flair. I said the best thing is Jay Lethal's woo-off with him. That was the best thing that he did, and that's the only thing I appreciated.
He elbow dropped his coat a lot. Like, I mean, I know he used to do that back in the day, but he really did that a lot in TNA there. What was his last match prior to this, Aaron? Was that bloodbath with Hogan in TNA? Or?
It was something with Sting, I think. I think he had a match with Sting in TNA.
So, your thoughts, Aaron, on
I mean, it was sad to watch. And I did a poll on NoDQ before the pay-per-view. I asked if people were going to be watching Ric Flair's last match, and it was like 85% no. So I think a lot of people were feeling the same way as Son and Virtue number 2, Walter Cruz. I think that a lot of people were like, we saw Ric Flair's last match at WrestleMania. Some of us saw the TNA stuff, and we really don't need to see it. Let's face it, Ric Flair had no business being in there. It was reckless to put him in there, in my opinion. And Ric Flair saying, yeah, the doctors said it was okay. And my feeling is when I was hearing him talk, it sounded to me like he talked to a bunch of doctors, and then one doctor said, yeah, go ahead and do the match. You're okay. He kept talking to doctors till he found one that said it was okay to get in there. We could tell by watching that match he had absolutely no business being in there. And Vince McMahon had no business being in the ring at WrestleMania. I mean, I think WWE got it right when that whole Jerry Lawler thing went down with the heart attack back in 2012. Ric Flair, Vince McMahon, Jerry Lawler, once they hit 60, 65, that should be it. They should not be put in that position where they're in the ring. And it's not just the physicality, but it's also the stress of going out there and trying to perform, and the adrenaline and all that. There's a lot of pressure to perform at a high level, and that's going to put strain on their bodies. It's going to put a strain on them mentally. It's just not a good idea. To me, that pay-per-view was a cash grab. It was done to get money.
Definitely.
And they threw a card out there with a bunch of people that are from the indies. They got a few AEW people. They got Jarrett, who is doing work with WWE. So they got some people. They threw that card together, but it was a nostalgia trip for a lot of 80s wrestling fans. But it was hard to watch it, and I was relieved when it was over. But yeah, I found it difficult to really be entertained by it. I cannot say I was entertained by it. It was like watching a train wreck, and I was just glad when it was over that Rick survived it and did not drop dead there in the ring. He did not look good, in my opinion. He looked like he was on the verge of passing out there, and he even said at the very end, Jeff is being really salty in the chat room here. Like, he's got to defend his boy Conrad Thompson, but that event should not have happened.
See,
in my opinion.
I'm perfectly fine with it happening. People need money. You can't tell somebody not to do something that wants to do something. And that's. I mean,
I'll say one thing. This is making me respect Sting more to do it at his age and still look good. Because look at everybody else who's up there and they're looking bad. At least Sting still looks good. They hide his little faults. AEW's doing it right, but Sting is still going out there jumping off barricades, but he still looks good. He doesn't slow down.
By the way, Jeff, Impact Wrestling, indie promotion. They're not even a national promotion anymore. They have
glorified.
AXS TV. Sure. They're not on national television. Yeah. They barely draw like 300 or 400 people into a studio in Nashville. To me, that's an independent wrestling promotion. There are actually independent wrestling promotions that draw better numbers than Impact these days. So that's that.
Want to just shout out to Richard in the chat who mentioned the Mae Young and Moolah match from SmackDown 1999. The reason I remember that match because I was a little kid at the time and I knew enough that wrestling had at least Pat Patterson writing stories, but that was the first match that I ever was critical of. I'm like, I was just a kid, I was like, why are they moving so slow? And I didn't know at the time, like, old people shouldn't be in the ring wrestling, but I was like, that was my first ever match where I'm like, I should have probably looked like I'm gonna grow up and become a hardcore wrestling fan because that was the first match I ever saw that I was critical of. Like, why is the match so slow? Oh man,
the stuff they put. Man, let's not take a table bump.
Yeah, Mae Young was taking bubble bombs through the table like in her 60s.
Much respect to the bumps they took on later on as I grew up. I just remember that from when I was a kid. That was my first time ever seeing them. I'm like, yeah, that makes me wonder. There are probably some kids growing up that this is their first exposure to ever seeing Ric Flair in the ring. I'm like, wow.
If you survive a plane crash during your prime, you can do whatever you want the rest of your life, however you want it, and I won't judge you, even if it looks bad. So, like, I gave Ric Flair a pass on this. I did. I pass out, but I do, man. It's just weird because it's for love of the game and the money, but you still know that was his life. I mean, he was Ric Flair almost all the time. Like, you could never probably separate him. I remember somebody trying to like get him to come down from his hotel room at the Marriott in Cleveland, called up to his room, used their girlfriend, right? Hey, Rick, you want to come down and get pictures? Because, thinking he'd be enticed because it was a girl. And you could hear him on the other end. I don't know how they got up to his room. He's like, honey, I'd love to come down here, but you can't handle it. Like, he was Rick. He knew when to turn it. He didn't have to answer that call up in his hotel room. And he said, sorry, honey, you can't handle this. And then he hung up. But that he gave them something to remember. That's Ric Flair.
And I think that's why Ric Flair truly does, though, want to live life to the fullest, because he could have died in that plane
Even
crash,
in the
and
hospital
he
bed a
didn't.
few years ago, too.
Exactly,
remember?
too. Yeah, so when you
Yeah.
have survived and come to death that close and still here to tell the story at an elderly age, yeah, Ric Flair's trying to enjoy life as much as possible. Triple H said as much in his review. He has a whole, in his interview, he has a whole new lease on life and everything. So we should definitely take those into consideration.
We also forget how much money he has lost in alimony, child support. How many times he's been divorced and remarried? So I mean, sometimes he just wants a payday.
Yep. All right, gentlemen, we did it. Aaron, any super chats to catch up on before we get out of here?
We do have a few. Psycho Jet Black sent in $2. He says, better last match, Ric Flair or the Wrestler movie? The Wrestler movie for sure. Like, not even close. The Wrestler was a good movie.
Yeah, and that last match before the blackout at the end there, he was working, right? They made it look good.
Yeah. Mr. Block Ice 22 sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, I just watched the 1992 Royal Rumble, the GOAT Royal Rumble.
I always said that. That's definitely the best one.
Always brings a tear to the eye.
Right. I mean, say what you will about Ric Flair, but that 92 Royal Rumble was an all-time classic. Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan on commentary.
Yep.
That was just a match that stands the test of time. Like, you can watch that today, and it's just as fresh and fun.
Everything
to watch
about it. First time the title was on the line for the Rumble. It's just everything.
Anyone out there who hasn't seen it, I'll tell you from my perspective, I was too young at the time, so it wasn't until the WWE Network came out that I was finally able to go back and watch that match after hearing so many rave reviews, and it is amazing. Star power. Like, even when I go back and watch those 80s, early 90s, even though I wasn't either born or was too young at the time, the energy, the characters, man, you just get that amazing loud. It just felt like it was quite the time in wrestling versus now.
And Heenan was just the best with the, oh my God, how long has he been in there? And kept checking, I need water. Somebody bring me water. Like, everything Heenan did was just, oh my God.
Oofman Entertainment sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Oof. He says, with permission, would love to participate in NoDQ review number 201. That's his area code. If I'm game, I'm game. Virtue, are you down with that?
Don't you like him to send a little video, like just how they present themselves and stuff?
I've met him in person. He's quality. I think we can make that happen.
I mean, we will let Walter Cruz on the show. So
what is that supposed to mean?
Really? True? Oh, man.
And you stuck around. So what I'm saying is,
Yeah, Oofman's an intelligent guy. I think he'll do well.
I don't want those people that think I hate him out there. Think I'm I'm like, I can virtue mode you, right, Walter?
Yeah. Of course.
Oof, just make sure you got your good video and audio quality, and I think we'll be happy with it.
Yeah, and I got a message to viewers. If you can dish it out, please be able to take it, because you see how Virtue did that, and I took it. You got to understand fun, because I don't know, people love trolling and talking shit, but then when you do it back, oh my God, it's like, dude, shut up.
Appreciate that, Walter. And Psycho Jet Black sent in $2. Says, ready to rumble or Mr. Nanny?
Ready to rumble.
Ready to rumble?
The fact that they took a match that was in that and made it a real match.
I'm probably one of the few people on this planet that actually watched that movie a lot as a kid, but I think I only did it because it was WCW wrestlers. And actually, I think I only watched the match because I just wanted to see Goldberg, and he was barely in it. But I actually have fond memories of that movie. I go back and watch it, maybe I'll be more critical, but shoot, man, that movie was fun to me.
It was fun to me too.
I don't know. I like Hulk Hogan in the little ballerina outfit, so I'm torn between the two of them. I like Suburban Commando, funny enough, because the Undertaker's in that movie, like right before it became the Undertaker.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even realize it's him.
Man, I think I saw Hogan as a little kid. That was my first time seeing Hogan in those movies instead of the wrestling, so it's crazy.
All right, and Mr. Anderson sent in $5. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Says, off topic, but wanted to get your opinion on worst faction gimmick in WWE, Maximum Male Models or the Spirit Squad. It's too early to tell.
That's a little too soon.
Does he mean in general worst faction or just out of those two?
Maybe just out of those two.
I don't think Spirit Squad was that bad. They
weren't
pushed
that bad.
those guys
entertaining.
kind of. Yeah.
I enjoyed the storyline with them, DX versus the Spirit Squad, Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
And it led to that amazing Hell in a Cell match.
Maybe you would
hilarious.
say Max, maybe like compare Judgment Day and Retribution, or I don't know, or Maximum Male Models and Retribution. Then we could have a discussion. I don't know.
I just wish they would bring Rick the Model Martel in. He needs to be part of this model group.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
Fits it perfect.
Maybe Triple H will. He's a fan. He's an old school wrestling fan.
And speaking of factions, maybe that's how you make the women tag team titles important. Give Bayley's faction the titles, and you defend it a la New Day rule or Demolition rule, and maybe you make those titles relevant now.
Yeah. I would say Spirit Squad wasn't even close to the worst faction of all time. Like, I remember the five of them grabbed Shawn Michaels and just hoisted him up really high in the air. That was
Dude,
cool.
They've made their mark in
like,
WWE
over
history.
the top male cheerleaders. Like,
Yeah.
what's not entertaining about
They
that?
made their mark.
They did.
I mean,
And Oofman sent in $2. He says, "I can dish it and take it." That remains to be seen. We may have some fireworks if him and Virtue start debating, but we'll see what happens. Oofman, we'll definitely put you on for 201. And I think on that note, we're all caught up. Virtue, that's 199 episodes.
Yeah, let's go around and do our plugs. Son, welcome back. You drop in every 10 or 15 episodes, and we appreciate that. Go ahead and do your plugs.
As always, it is great to be here on NoDQ with the gentlemen here, as well as everyone else in the team NoDQ. As you can see on the screen, I have been hard at work for the last 10 years on my anime-inspired short film, Battle of Deception. Wrote, direct, starred in it, edited, and everything else that goes into a production as a one-man crew. So I got the trailer up on my channel, as well as my SummerSlam 2022 review. You can go ahead and watch that. I will comment below, and you can click on my username to go ahead and watch it, and there you can follow my filmmaking and acting journey if you want to see more things regarding voice acting, my acting, screen acting, that is, as well as Dragon Ball content. That being said, thank you again, gentlemen. It is always a pleasure to come on here and talk wrestling. Keep supporting NoDQ. As a busy content creator, I always need a lot of audio to listen to because I don't have much visual time, and you guys definitely get me through long editing sessions all through the week, so keep on up the great work. 200 coming in, so can't wait to see it. Hopefully be a part of it. That being said, guys, keep supporting NoDQ.com.
Thank you. All right, Walter Cruz, Virtue number 2.
Thanks, guys, for having me up here again. As always, I love being on these videos, and I'm always here in the background when you guys need me. For me, you can follow me on Instagram. This is Calfire Farms. It's CALFYR. FYR Farms. If you're into that kind of stuff, you can obviously see the content right now with the picture. Also, I'm on Twitter. It's at Walter Alex Cruz, and that's all. That's it for me.
All right, good to have you on. Thanks for joining us last minute. And now over to Aaron.
All right, son, I guess you have to answer this one. Better Dragon Ball Z villain between these two guys, or three guys.
Boo.
I actually paused because I wanted to hear Aaron try to pronounce them, but that's all right.
Wasn't gonna happen.
No, that being is Furiza-sama, basically pronounced in English as Frieza. Yeah, and I love Boo. Boo's my favorite in the original DBZ, but when it comes to overall Dragon Ball, gotta go with the Emperor of the Universe, Frieza, one of the best villains Toriyama Akira has ever created.
Go.
All right, thank you for that, son. And just stay tuned to NoDQ.com, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. And it'll be nice to take a little break from wrestling after a very busy weekend with SummerSlam and Ric Flair's last match. It's going to be a busy Labor Day weekend coming up. We got a lot of stuff happening with All Out. We got the Clash at the Castle. And we got, I think, an NXT pay-per-view that's going to be that weekend as well. That weekend's going to be crazy. Ooh, the Joker. And by the way, that Joker at SummerSlam that was in the front row as Corbin was coming out there, I'm still haunted by that. So damn that guy for being so creepy. Anyways, Virtue, let's go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, be sure to check out NoDQ.com/merch and go check out the shirts, the coffee mugs, and all that good stuff. Hey, you can buy a t-shirt that says Virtue on the back, NoDQ. And, of course, on the front, it says, I'm sorry. You can buy an apology from me if you wish. 2 weeks from tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, I think it's going to be August 18th. We are going to have episode number 200 where you, the NoDQ Galaxy, will be the moderator for the entire episode. And who knows how long it will go, where you can super chat the topics. And we're probably going to have tons of panel members in. And we might have to actually have some rotation in the waiting room. So it's going to be fun. Shout out to Colin the Cleaver Andrew, Jeff Meacham, Big G, Robbie Weiss, the whole crew, Noah Foster. We don't know who's going to be on, but we're going to have a fun time, son. You're welcome in 2 weeks as well if you can make it. But that's it, everybody. This has been the NoDQ Review number 199. See you in 2 weeks.